that even the liberals who are going on television to defend this ruling have to Google in the breaks to figure out what the crime was. and even then, I'm sorry to say, misrepresent what the actual supposed crime was. The reason here that this has to take... Well, excuse me one second, Francesca. I'll just finish my point real quickly.
Books. That's the same thing.
Yeah. It's not a felony, not a crime. But anyway, that's a point for another time.
Michael Knowles and Francesca Fiorentini, who was a host for the Young Turks, went on Piers Morgan and got into a heated debate about multiple different things. I'm sure you can kind of already guess what they talked about: Donald Trump and probably more Donald Trump. And let's get into this clip here where Michael Knowles absolutely destroys Francesca Fiorentini for her ridiculous woke takes here live on Piers Morgan Uncensored.
Michael, look, I do think there's a ridiculous double standard here that will come back and bite the Democrats for the reasons that Mark Garagos said about historically, you've seen this coming a mile off, where both parties starting to ratchet up this concept of kind of going after each other's leaders in criminal courts. I mean, you see this normally in banana republics, not in the United States of America. And it really does worry me as someone who loves America and loves Americans, what this is leading to. Because if all that happens in each term of office is one party trying to incarcerate the other's leader, I don't know where that leaves America in a few years' time.
Well, this will only come back to bite Democrats if they lose their grip on power, and obviously they don't think that they will. This is why President Biden the other day, when he was walking out of a press briefing, was asked, Mr. President, Donald Trump says that you are imprisoning him because he's your political rival. What do you say to that charge?
Well, I'll stop you there. We have the clip. Let's play the clip.
Mr. President, can you tell us, sir, Donald Trump refers to himself as a political prisoner and blames you directly. What's your response to that, sir? Do you think the conviction will have an impact on the campaign?
I mean, you look like Jack Nicholson in The Shining at the end of that. But yeah, I mean, Michael, to pick up your point there, that's the clip you're referring to.
Yes, and it's pretty clear this is not a man who thinks that he has to be accountable to the American people. When you look at the federal charge against Trump, there was a poll that came out when that charge was brought that showed 62% of Americans think that it's primarily politically motivated. They just don't seem to care. And so this has been a ratcheting up, as we've all noted on the panel, of trends that have been built up for some years now. Some would say going back to Richard Nixon. But certainly in the early Trump campaign, the Democrats tried to stop him from being president by spying on him and cooking up fake intelligence, ironically enough, with Russia. That didn't work. Then they tried to throw him out by impeaching him twice. That didn't work. Then they tried to kick him out by rigging the election and changing all the voter rules, in some cases in contravention of state constitutions leading up to that election. That did get him out of office, and he did leave office, but then he didn't go away. He kept running again. So then they indicted him 4 times. Now they've convicted him. They're going to threaten to throw him in prison. Pretty soon they're going to threaten to send him to St. Helena. But this has absolutely nothing to do with the law. As was noted earlier, at most you're talking about a misdemeanor.
Also, real quick, Michael Knowles just missed one point, and that's they tried to do everything. They tried to impeach him. They tried to throw him in jail. They tried to dissuade him by scaring him, fear tactics, say that he colluded with Russia. They tried literally everything. And then they also tried to take him out live on television as he's giving a speech at a rally. They tried to take him out, and they tried to take him out again. And who knows about the other assassination attempts against Donald Trump that haven't even been reported, that maybe the Secret Service kind of thwarted before anybody could ever find out they happened, and they just didn't want it released to the public. I'm sure there was a bunch of those that happened as well. So Michael Knowles is completely correct. And you can see Francesca Fiorentini this entire time laughing and scoffing at things that Michael Knowles is saying and Piers Morgan are saying. But the thing is, like, how can you refute any of this? I'm so interested to see how she refutes this stuff, because it's only one side trying to throw their political opponents in jail. It's only one side that's throwing other people, that's throwing people in jail just based on their political beliefs and their affiliations. You know, like even the whole Rittenhouse situation, and like obviously Rittenhouse has like had a heel turn. Like for some reason I don't know, the guy's he's off his rocker, I think. But regardless, he was innocent. And I think in any other situation, everybody across the country would view him as innocent. But even people like Anna Kasparian and all the usual suspects out there kept saying over and over again, he crossed state lines, he crossed state lines. If this was just a normal incident, everybody would agree across the nation that he was innocent. But because it had to do with the Summer of Love, then they were trying to say that he was guilty because he crossed state line. It still doesn't make any sense to me. But that's what I'm talking about. Where when it's a politicized issue, they try to throw you in jail, even if in other circumstances, everybody out there would agree that they are innocent, including Donald Trump. So I just wanted to bring that up, that Michael Knowles missed one piece. They tried everything. None of that worked. And then they tried to kill him. And that still didn't work. And now he's president.
That would have already expired under the statute of limitations. I'm not even convinced that there was really a misdemeanor that Trump committed. So my fellow panelist here is celebrating that the rule of law has been vindicated and overturned 234 years of American legal tradition. I would challenge her to see if she could possibly articulate how and what crime Trump committed, because so far Alvin Bragg, the DA, has failed to do so. The judge in the case, Judge Merchan, has failed to do so. And they can't do it because Trump didn't commit any of the crimes for which he's been convicted.
Well, let's just ask quickly before I go to Kevin. Francesca, just on that point, what crime did Trump commit?
If you enjoy content like this, then make sure to leave a like and subscribe to the channel. It really does help me out a ton. Let's get back to the video.
It was financial crimes. It was white collar crimes. That is exactly what they charged him. He was convicted on.
What was the crime?
It's New York State law.
I understand. What was the crime?
It is New.
Francesca,
I don't even like it. It is
hang on, Mark,
he just got convicted on 34 counts.
Francesca, what was the crime?
Of like cooking the actual books.
What was the crime?
You are not allowed. So you are not allowed to use your own financial, like your own money, to pay off somebody, and then he logged it.
She literally has no idea. This is what I've been talking about. This is what Tim Pool went off on Luke Beasley for. This is what Michael Knowles is talking about here. This is what Piers Morgan is talking about. These people, like Tim Pool said in that legendary clip with Luke Beasley on Timcast, they don't ever do research. They don't know the answers to any of these questions. They just know what the machine state tells them, and that's what gets downloaded into their NPC brains, and they just repeat the talking points over and over again. And if you're in Francesca Fiorentini's shoes or any of the other hosts on the Young Turks' shoes, you get paid for it, for just saying the same thing over and over again and not actually knowing why you're saying it. You just know, hey, when I say this, money goes into my bank account. Let me continue to say this. That's what Francesca Fiorentini and these people, that's how they operate. She doesn't actually know. Whenever it's like, it blows my mind. If you don't know what you're talking about, why the hell are you going to embarrass yourself on Piers Morgan? Like, all Michael Knowles had to do was ask you a simple question. Hey, what crime did Donald Trump commit? I don't know. Like, dude, you're embarrassing the shit out of yourself. Why'd you do this?
As something different. He logged it as just a regular payment, but he was actually paying off this star to keep quiet, which, if he hadn't been running for president, would not have mattered, but he was. And so it impacted campaign finance laws in New York State. Okay, that is what Juan Merchan just oversaw this. Alvin Bragg brought these charges because Michael Cohen, his sister, was already sentenced to 3 years to do it.
Let's just go before, Kevin, I'll be very, very, very patient. I will come to you.
Look, I'm no expert. Let me just say, hang on.
Francesca,
you are no expert. That's fine. The campaign finance law is a federal law.
Hang on, anyway, Francesca. I want to go to Mark. You're the lawyer. Is anything Francesca just said, is that actually the crime?
Look, let me just say, I like Francesca a lot, and we probably agree on 80% of our worldviews. However, Francesca, the way you just described it, call me afterwards and I'll educate you, because that's not what happened. There was no theory that was given to the jurors. The jurors were told it could have been campaign finance, it could have been tax, it could have been false books. They were told they didn't have to specify, and specifically told they did not have to agree unanimously. That's what irks me. Lifelong Democrat, no fan of Trump, never voted for Trump, never will. But I will tell you, as somebody who has spent his entire career kind of taking on unpopular causes and holding the government accountable, I have to tell you, I do that for a reason. And the reason is this kind of shenanigans, and that's the best light I can spin it on, in the criminal courts, has no place in a federal election.
I don't mean to pick on Francesca too much here, but it's very telling that even the liberals who are going on television to defend this ruling have to Google in the breaks to figure out what the crime was. and even then, I'm sorry to say, misrepresent what the actual supposed crime was. The reason here that this has to take... Well, excuse me one second, Francesca. I'll just finish my point real quickly.
Books. That's the same thing.
Yeah. It's not a felony, not a crime. But anyway, that's a point for another time. The reason why even the great defenders of this conviction can't... yes, to you as well. The reason that they can't articulate this is because it's not really a crime. That's why they had to upend 234 years of precedent for this. And it gets back to a point that you made earlier, Piers, and that you made, Kevin, which is that Alvin Bragg really overplayed his hand. Sure, he overplayed his hand to some degree, but what else were they going to do? Donald Trump was always going to be the Republican nominee in 2024. A lot of people feel that he was gypped in 2020. He's the biggest guy in the party. It was going to happen. And Trump poses a real threat to the liberal establishment. He's not a Mitt Romney type Republican. He has different views from the so-called uniparty on things like trade, on things like immigration, and things like foreign policy and war. Trump posed a major threat. That's why they took such extraordinary measures for the last 8 years to take this guy out. They weren't able to do it politically. They weren't even really able to do it at the ballot box. So what's left? The only thing left to do is to try to throw him in prison.
And you know, the funny part about all of this is that Donald Trump probably represents Francesca Fiorentini, represents Cenk Uygur, Anna Kasparian, all of the Young Turks and those types of leftists way more than Joe Biden or Kamala Harris ever could. Because Donald Trump is actually anti-establishment. And these people claim, Francesca Fiorentini, Cenk, all these people claim that they're anti-establishment too. And a lot of their talking points are pretty anti-establishment. And yet still, they just repeat whatever the machine state tells them to repeat. It just blows my mind. Donald Trump would be a better anti-establishment pick than any of the people that they actually want to get elected. And he's public enemy number one to all of them. It just makes no sense. Let me know in the comments what you guys think about Michael Knowles absolutely cooking Francesca Fiorentini here live on Piers Morgan Uncensored.